This kind of weather is perfect for sweaters, coffee shops, cozying up to a fireplace, reading a book. So this video is about the Altoona weather, and specifically the time we're in right now, January, and the long haul we have until it is going to get any brighter. The weather is amazing in Altoona, Pennsylvania. One of the main reasons that I left my hometown, Altoona, Pennsylvania, a decade ago was the bleak winters that we have. What felt like November to April is dark, gloomy, cold, overcast, gray, very depressing. And so to run back about 10 years when I moved to Florida, I was a photojournalist at WTAJ News, and that job is a lot of the times an outside job. And not just an outside job, you're carrying expensive camera equipment that needs to be cared for. So in addition to just yourself being cold and being out in the elements for a lot of the job, you're also required to take care of something that requires some finesse. So I would be constantly having to put a rain slick or something over the camera, some plastic, to kind of cover up all the buttons. And so it's a hard job to do in brutal weather. And when the weather is rough 5-6 months out of the year, you can't help but think, maybe I like the job, but there's got to be a better place I could do that. And so, you know, the idea had been percolating in my brain for a while that I wanted to get to somewhere where I could do the job in a little more comfort. And so in March of 2012, I pointed as far south as possible, Fort Myers, Florida, and that's where I ended up as a photojournalist. So I have a perspective of living in Florida for 10 years, experiencing their winters, and also living and working in Altoona, Pennsylvania. Now I'm back in Altoona, Pennsylvania, and you know, I've probably had dozens of people that I reunited with, and a lot of people inevitably ask, how do I like living back here? And I'm doing better this time around, and I am embracing those dark days. It's black at 5 p.m., and on top of that, all day long, it was gray skies, driving around in wet, you're driving around in just a gloominess. And I'm trying to embrace it more. One of my New Year's goals and resolutions was to get back into the habit of reading all the time. And so if I could offer up something to help you through the long winter nights, something that I'm embracing is the philosophy in this book, which is the little book of Hygge. My wife and I discovered this book while we were in Florida, you know, during the winter time, and I believe it's Hygge. We listened to the audio book together because the voice is the author reading it, and you know, he has a Danish accent that's sort of comforting as well. So why the book is fantastic is it's a mindset of the Danes. The idea of embracing the dark and embracing the cold and sort of the culture that survives that bleakness. And Hygge, one interpretation of that is just comfort, and creating comfort amongst and amidst the darkness and the cold and the long winters. They embrace it. And some of the takeaways are this: they're one of the happiest countries there is. Organizations that do studies about happiness, and Denmark ranks as one of the happiest countries there is. So Why is that? Well, it could be because they embrace this philosophy of Hygge. And if you dive into the book, it's often they create the Hygge. It's not something that happens naturally. It is something that you can create. One of the first concepts they talk about is just lighting. Turning off the overhead oppressive LED bright white lights, sticking to, I think they called it caverns or pools of light coming from the side. Lamps are big over there. Candles, there's a big push for candles in the books. Lighting candles, creating comfort. One of the ways that you can instantly make a room more comfortable and more habitable during the winter time is, instead of turning on all the overhead LED white lights, light some candles. So cafes are a section that they talk about, and just they describe it with the adjective hyggerly. This is one of the most hyggerly cafes because of the lighting, because of the atmosphere, because of the warmth you feel. There's an intimacy. It's the idea that you're wrapping yourself in a nice sweater, comfortable sweater. You're having close conversations with a few friends around a cup of coffee. You know, if you're trying to escape the winter doldrums of Altoona, Pennsylvania, I was absolutely overjoyed after my 10-year hiatus of living here to return and discover that the coffee game has really been enhanced in the last few years. Places like the Clay Cup. You have places like Green Bean. There's the Daily Grind out on Union there now. Sort of more the cafe and coffee shops that offer, you know, more than something that's just drive-through. One of the ideas and ways to escape the winter cold is to embrace it and meet some friends around a table and have some good conversation with some good coffee. So Altoona weather, you know, it's what you make of it. If you're a pessimist, and maybe it is very depressing, but I'm choosing to be an optimist, and I'm choosing to embrace it, and I'm choosing to enjoy my time here. So I'm making the most of it by thinking differently about, hey, this kind of weather is perfect for sweaters, coffee shops, cozying up to a fireplace, and reading a book. I highly recommend Hygge. You could curl up and you know, have a nice little reading experience on your in your reading nook, or check out the audiobook. It's also enjoyable and you know, a way to consume it on your commute.